Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to dive into the Fiend Folio and look at a monster with a lot of potential uses. And it's the Crypt thing. You're saying, wait a minute, the Crypt thing, he's a one-trick pony. Well, you're right. Number appearing is 1, armor class 3, 6 hit dice. Attack is 1, 1 to 8. Damage per attack, special attack C below, defense is C below, standard MR, very intelligent, neutral, and medium size. So he looks like a lich. He looks like a lich sitting on some type of chair or throne. Pale, solitary skeletal being, which always wears a brown hooded robe. The Crypt thing stays in its lair permanently. At least none have been encountered elsewhere, and will not attack if it is left undisturbed. Player characters never leave these things undisturbed, by the way. Its special power is an unfailing ability to cast an improved form of teleportation spell on a party, once per party encounter. Those who fail to make their saving throws are instantly teleported according to the percentage dice roll on the table below. So on a 1 through 20, they go 100 to 1,000 feet north, 21 to 40, 100 to 1,000 feet south, 41 to 60, 100 to 1,000 feet east, 81 to 9, 61 to 80 rather, 1,000 feet west, 1 to 1,000 feet west, 81 to 90, 1 dungeon level up, 91 to double out, 1 dungeon level down. This can be a big deal. For one thing, you have to determine the direction by the random thing, and I never have the teleport fail in any way. I always have the players land safely, but I'll get back to that in a moment. Distance and direction are determined individually for each victim teleported. Victims never arrive in solid material and will arrive in the closest open space to the target spot. If the target spot is solid, however, victims need not arrive at floor level. If the target spot is solid. Victims, however, need not arrive at floor level, so you could come in 20 feet high and take some falling damage. Those who make their saving rolls may attack the Crypt thing, but it can only be hit by magical weapons. It will inflict attack and return, a two-handed clawing motion, which does 1 to 8 points of damage. The Crypt thing can communicate in the neutral tongue, but if it is questioned on the disappearance of some members of the party, it will not reveal its power, but will instead maintain they have been disintegrated. There are rumored to be aberrant Crypt things in existence which, instead of teleporting victims, paralyze them and simultaneously turn them invisible. Neither this nor the more common type feeds on victims, however. Their aim appears to be solely that of obtaining pleasure by creating confusion and dissent. So this guy seems to be kind of a one-trick pony, and it kind of was that. Many of my players read the Fiend Folio when it came out. So when I put the Crypt thing in there, instead of having him seated, I had him standing. I had him moving his hands a little bit. They all freaked out, thought it was a lich, and attacked him. You can pretty much count your players are going to attack this guy based on his look. So I did modify it a little bit so it wasn't so obvious that it was a Crypt thing. And then the very first time I used these guys, I made a huge mistake. I did what the book said. I teleported everybody individually. And of a party, this was at that club I used to belong to, and of a party of approximately 12 players, I had about 5 fail their save and get teleported. What a mess. The rest of the night, I had 5 individual characters elsewhere in the dungeon and one big group of about 7. Wow, was that a mistake. I never did that again. When we finished that event that night at the club, I said, okay, the beginning of next time, for whatever reason, you're all going to be back together. I just kind of hand-waved it because it was just too much of a mess for me to actually have to deal with. So the Crypt thing is intelligent. It can talk in a neutral tongue. I would let it use common as well. I have let it use common. And it does teleport the party. Sometimes, if you give it tribute, which I put in 1, it would teleport the party where they wanted to go. So it took some trial and error, but they eventually found, as they were exploring this continuing dungeon that I had in Greyhawk, they found that when they got to the Crypt thing, they could bribe him with a magical dagger or some kind of lesser magic. He would take it and he would teleport them where they wanted to go. For me, it was a way as a DM to get the party where I wanted them for the night. But for the party, it was an expedient way for them to keep going back to areas they wanted to explore. I had them come one night and the Crypt thing wasn't there for whatever reason. I made a joke about him being in the bathroom. Maybe he'd be back later. But I didn't let them teleport the one time just to throw him a curveball. That was the only reason I did it. But otherwise, I would have the Crypt thing be there. Once they had learned how to deal with him, they would bribe him and describe where they wanted to go, and he'd teleport them there. So there's a couple of different ways to use them. The other thing you can do is you can have this guy be the big bad evil guy. He's the one behind all the powers, everything that's happening in the area. The evil's turning evil. Area's turning evil. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Well, it turns out the mastermind is a darn Crypt thing, and he has the ability to teleport his opponents away. I had one where no matter what they did, when they ran up on the Crypt thing, he teleported them away. So they had to keep coming back and slogging through all the people. So finally, one of my players had an idea. He had an a scroll of anti-magic. So his idea was that they would slog their way through the bad guys again, get to his Crypt, read the anti-magic, and they go in without magic and attack him. The only problem with that, of course, is he can only be harmed by magical weapons. So it worked to a point, but they were able to dissuade him enough and break up his criminal empire, and then he eventually teleported away himself, because why not? He's got the power of teleport. It doesn't say he can or can't teleport himself, so I let him teleport. But there's just a couple ways you can use these. These make a good mastermind that players aren't going to suspect, especially if he's sitting out there in plain sight, especially if they strike a deal, as I did with the one where they could have him take some magic items or other treasure in exchange for teleporting them where they wanted to go, only within the confines of the dungeon. It's just a lot of fun. But yeah, don't teleport everybody individually, as I did that one time. What a mess. That was a tough rest of the game to keep everybody engaged while I ran around between what ended up being 6 separate groups. So never again. So there you have it. That's a nice look at a Crypt thing. A little nonsuch in a dungeon. Maybe he is the mastermind. Maybe he's just somebody who wants some treasure and will work with you. Who knows? It all depends on what you want to do. I, by the way, have never done the variant where he paralyzes things and turns invisible. I never used that one. So let me know what you think, how you've used Crypt things in your game. I love Fiend Folio. This is such a breath of fresh air for us in 1981. But that's all I got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please leave comments below, like and subscribe. Take a look at the Patreon. Help me out there. And I'll see you next time.